is like watching Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Only like live action and then Giants and Hellboy.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch Movies.
Today's movie is Hellboy. Hellboy is a 2019 supernatural superhero film, allegedly. Starring David Harbour, Mila Jovovich, Ian McShane, Sasha Lane, Daniel Day Kim, and Thomas Hayden Church. Have a plot synopsis.
Well, angry pig changeling is trying to bring back the Blood Queen that was killed by King Arthur and Merlin. And so Hellboy's got to get together and stop him. But, you know, that's in the midst of being betrayed by the Osiris Club and then spawning demons.
It's a little bit like Suicide Squad, kind of. In, like, the basic sort of plot. There's, like, evil magic queen gonna release a thing that's gonna kill everyone because magic and stuff, and we gotta stop it. But we only have Hellboy this time instead of, like, 6 people.
Yeah, but see, like, the difference is like, for
And
Suicide Squad...
the from time to time.
Like, Suicide Squad was just like, we're going to take these villains because we don't care if they die. Like, at least Hellboy was just like, hey, like, my dad loves me, but I'm angsty. And then these British people...
It's really angsty.
Yeah, and these British people, they don't like me because I'm supposed to bring the end of the world, but I don't want to. So I'm just trying to be a good guy. And I just don't want to have to kill everything because I don't want that to be what my life's about. And the Blood Queen's just like, hey there, big boy. You want to be the king of the humans not being alive? Like, no.
Yeah, because he does end up having kind of an Iron Giant complex at the end where he's just like, well, I could just be a weapon.
Superman.
Or I could not do that. And I'll just put the sword down then. Which I do like the quip about that now he's the king of England because like he has Arthur's sword and all that. So,
yeah.
Which doesn't come to anything because then we're not in England for the next bit of it. Which I don't want while we're already there because I don't know if I'll remember to talk about it later. Because usually what happens is I say we'll get to that later and then we never do.
No.
So while we're there,
that's a keyboard.
I was really when that felt like the end of the movie and then it's like black for a little while and then it gives us like a 6 months later thing and then it like comes back and I was like, there's more of this? Like, really? Like, isn't it over now? Like, can it just be over now? And I don't really feel like that particular scene added anything especially.
It added Abe.
I guess.
What do you mean you guess? He's right there in the scene.
But
that's what the fish hand thing was for.
Yeah, but I don't really like you don't have to do that. Like you don't have to set up the next one you might not get to make, which they probably aren't because it's made no money and everyone hates it. So it doesn't seem like it's likely that they'll get a second one.
Well, I hear a lot of people say that it looks cheap.
Well, I mean, it was cheap. It only cost $50 million, which is really cheap for this kind of movie. But I didn't think it looked that cheap.
Yeah, like I thought it looked like there was.
I thought it looked fine. There were a couple of there was every now and then
scenes where I could be like, oh,
cheap.
That's like they replaced his entire face with CG for that scene, and it stood out because they were like too focused on his face.
There was something else too. I can't remember what it was where it didn't hold up as well, but most of it did for as cheap as it was, and they do a fair amount of, I mean, it helps maybe because a lot of times when there's big action happening or something, they go like really like excessively like dismemberment and blood and stuff, and it's like so extreme that it's kind of goofy, and so you couldn't like if you made it look real, it would look weird, and so if it doesn't look exactly real, you just kind of don't notice because it's already so pushed in extreme. And so I think they got away with a lot by making it extreme maybe while still being able to do it cheap. Which I'm surprised they did it as cheap as they did, because they didn't know that it was going to be a failure when they were making it, and they wanted to try. Although I guess they've been working on this for a significant period of time, and it went through a few different iterations of what it was going to be. Which the first version of it being a sequel that fits into the series that was being co-written by actually Mike Mignola sounds like a much cooler thing maybe than any other version that we might have gotten, including this one. And also continuing to have Ron Perlman. Although I didn't really have any problem with David Harbour. I think he did fine, but there's just like Ron Perlman has like, I think we talked about on the Pacific Rim show that it's just like he has such a distinctive face that and it's just always nice to see Ron Perlman. That it would have been nice to see Ron Perlman, but it's nothing against David Harbour, and he did a fine job.
While I would have liked to have seen a Hellboy 3, with Ron Perlman, like this being a reboot while not being an exact origin story, I was completely fine with.
Well, we get the origin story in a way in flashbacks.
Yeah, we get like the expositions or whatever,
crystal ball flashbacks. And Nazis and stuff.
Yeah. And Lobster Johnson.
Yeah.
Which was like the best. I love you, Lobster Johnson!
Which is Thomas Hayden Church. But that he's like a ghost at the end.
Which is...
And there's no...
spooky.
And it's weird because every other time we've had like spirits or something, we needed one of the mediums or something there, and it was like an involved process. And then he's just like walking around the cemetery, and like he walks just like through things, including Hellboy, and he's really creeped out by it.
He's also really drunk, so I don't even know if that's really him or not.
I mean, it could be a tequila hallucination. I don't know.
Because we know he loves his tequila. All right, I'm gonna pull up that list. Who the fuck is Lenny? Refish it out. Raffenstelf. I don't know. It's probably some kind of German name or something. How the hell do you pronounce that name?
Oh.
Like I went to scroll up because I wanted to see the other people, and I saw her because she's the next one, and I'm just like, I don't remember who this person is. Her hair's in her face, and it's like Lenny.
I didn't realize that was even. It's Lenny Riefenstahl, who is like the famous German like propaganda film director.
Oh,
I guess she was who was supposed to be at the camera.
Okay,
which is a weird thing because you wouldn't think that. I guess maybe if it works, then you would put it in propaganda because then you'd be like, "Look, we're the Nazis. We have demons now."
That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
But they didn't. I didn't. I don't know how we were supposed to realize that that's who it was.
Yeah, I had no clue. Okay, so
I don't think anybody ever said it.
Well, okay, so whenever Hellboy is at the cemetery, right? And Lobster Johnson just kind of shows up and he's a ghost. And we don't realize he's a ghost yet, but he tells Hellboy, it's like, yeah, I went and got myself killed in the war. So we know he didn't live past the war. But we also like know from that like the exposition.
He didn't die right there.
Well, yeah.
But
like,
eventually.
The exposition flashback thing.
There wasn't much war left though at that point, it doesn't seem like, because they tell us like right at the end of the war when like they knew they were losing, they started trying to summon demons, and so he got killed fairly quickly thereafter, I guess. But
I don't know, like just air raid bombing, maybe that got him. That got a lot of people. No, but it's like the dude that was there that he like marked and was like, tell him I sent you to hell, that kind of thing. The Rasputin Nazi dude, necromancer.
Yeah.
All right, so Hellboy's dad, said actor whose name I also can't remember because I suck at this. I like him too. He's the dude who runs the hotel in John Wick. Spicy.
Yeah.
All right, so he kind of got killed off, in a not very cool fashion, right? But at least they kind of made up for it with his whole like he's gonna be like spirit out of the lady's mouth and tell Hellboy like
for way longer than the other medium was, because he just kind of like hangs out for a while and doesn't even say anything for parts of it and just watches what's going on and then gives his whole speech.
Now I won't say that's a detriment, because
it might be because he like just died and we don't know exactly how long it was before they got back to the headquarters and found everybody dead. So maybe that has like spirit freshness has something to do with
well, like
how
the
long
lady
you
was
can keep
freaking
them
out.
around.
You know, because like the thing that like the pig changeling dude was still there.
Yeah.
So like she was already freaking out, but so he's there, and there's been thought that if they do make a second one, which would hopefully contain Abe, that they would try to do like some weird necromancy stuff, because like you have Lobster Johnson, who like the community loves. You have Abe, who the community loves. The movie isn't as bad as like what people are trying to make it sound like. And so it's like, hey, if they did get another $50 million to make a sequel, like we want to see Lobster Johnson come back. And what would be hilarious if the Rasputin necromancer dude ended up bringing Lobster back to life just to be a dick. Little things like that. And that could always be part of like the whole, we're using these extra long flashbacks as expositions to tell stories to like, I thought you were dead, you know, like I saw your ghost out there, and he's like, yeah, I'm not dead anymore because necromancer brought me to life, and now we got to go hunt him down. And then that could be a story arc right there. And it's like, well, I'm kind of dumb and my dad's dead, so I'm going to use Abe Sapien because he's smart to help us out, and then adventure. And maybe they can use that as an excuse to bring the dad back to life. Because, like he's not going to run the organization.
No, but somebody else will. I'm sure there's someone in line to do it. But, like, they can't, though, because, like, it made no money. Like, it's not going to make any... And they can't... It's not like... They can't show this in China, right? Because there's too much, like, supernaturally stuff, and, like, they don't like that kind of thing. So
I have no clue.
I don't think they can't show it in China, can they?
They had Venom in China.
Yeah, but it was like really edited, and like there's no way like you would have to edit out Hellboy from the movie because he's inherently a supernatural character. Well, so you can't do that. You don't have a movie then.
Well, even on that, like
Hellboy without Hellboy.
Yeah, just boy.
It's a different thing than Garfield.
But like the R rating, people also kind of complain about like, oh, this movie is its sole existence is so it can be R, and I feel that's not fair, because now I compared it to Venom a second ago with the whole China thing, but when you break it down, people wanted Venom to be R, not so much so they could have like, oh, we want the blood and gore, but because they knew that sooner or later that franchise for Venom, if it carried over, would have carnage. Carnage, you know, like gore and blood and carnage. And it's really hard to have like a PG-13 movie without, you know, blood, gore, and carnage. And so like having this kind of thing where it's like, okay, it's a movie and we know we're going to have to edit it down a little bit, but we still have to include this. And this movie doesn't deal with that. It's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have blood and guts. Here's your blood and guts. Like it's a little bit crazy, but here's your blood and guts. Hey, you want to see a demon come straight from hell? Here you go. There's gonna be like 6 of them. It's just gonna harpoon this dude through the face. It's gonna grab this guy and just rip his face off. Hey, look at this lady. We're gonna pick her up and snap her neck. You know, it goes like full Monty on this stuff, and it doesn't feel like a big corporate kind of cop-out where it's like, no, we need to appeal to a larger audience so we can make money, so we're going to cut this stuff out and make it PG-13. It feels like they didn't do that. They're like, nope, we wanted to make this movie, we made this movie. Oh, well, it has R. The fans wanted R. Here you go. And there it is.
I guess. I mean, it's not like... I think it could have been either way. Like, you could have pulled it down a little bit and had fundamentally the same movie, and it wouldn't have mattered. Because there's not like story reasons that it has, like there's no, it's just the like the blood and stuff. That's why it is. I mean, it's language too.
Oh, there's a ton of it.
But you could have made it PG-13, which the other two are, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have really made much of a difference.
Well, I kind of want to find a balance between all of this, like, because I want a studio to be able to make a movie and then be able to make a profit off of this movie. I would like people to be able, more people to be able to enjoy said movies because it was made for the intent of being enjoyed.
Yeah, I don't think if this was PG-13 that would have made it make more money because it was open for more people to see it. It maybe I mean it might have been some, but I don't think it would have been like suddenly wildly successful because it wasn't rated R anymore.
Yeah, but then I also want like this original version. Like this is how it was supposed to be. This is what was intended. Kind of like how you get like director cuts. Like I want that whole on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K edition release. You get what is supposed to be the real edit. Like, oh yeah, we have all the language, we have all the blood that we wanted, but we couldn't really do for a successful theatrical release. Like I want those to be included in movies. Like when you go out to buy, because then it gives a reason for people to go out and buy the movies instead of just like, oh, I want to rent this or I want to stream this. Like, no, here's a guaranteed, this is what you were supposed to get. We had to give you the dumbed down version. You can buy the real one.
Well, they do that as if it's what they mean. Some, like, we often get, unrated cuts or things like that are, but that mostly seems like the opposite of like, we knew we were never going to release this in the theater and it's not really what we meant, but we want to give you a reason to buy it. And so we're just we're going to add a few things in that don't really matter, and then it's only unrated because we didn't resubmit it to the MPAA, and we probably could have had it rated, and it probably still would have been rated R if it already was. And it's not like, oh, it's unrated. It's we couldn't show this, and they have all kinds of buzzword kind of things like the version you didn't see in theaters and things. And
well, I kind of want it to literally be the version I didn't see in theaters. But
it's not like this is what we meant and we pulled it down in order to get it into more theaters. It's like we shot this extra stuff knowing we were just going to add it back. They used to do this in like the 70s with knowing that when a movie came out on TV, it was going to have to fill like a 3-hour block on TV. And so they would shoot extra stuff that was just to fill time. And we saw some of that when we did Midway. The longest version of that includes all the extra stuff that was shot for TV, and most of it's not very good. And there are a lot of movies that are like that. Original Superman has a version like that, where it's like really excessively long. And I don't think in that case it was that they deliberately shot extra things just for TV. I can't remember if maybe they added extra things after the fact, but Richard Donner was just crazy and was just making this ridiculous unshowable movie for theatrical purposes at the time, and so there is just a lot of stuff in it. And I think it actually uses a little bit of the stuff that was supposed to be, because they shot 1 and 2 as one production, or at least they were trying to, and then Richard Donner got fired and Richard Lester was brought in, and so it ended up being different, but they were shooting them all in one piece. And it's never been released so far as I know. I think actually I remember there being some rumors about it coming out sometime recently, but a lot of people remember, I don't remember if I talked about this on the Superman episode or not, but a lot of people remember talking or seeing the TV version, and that's how they remember the movie. And then when they watch it, if they've tried to watch it again recently, in the forms that it's available for, it was actually a cut down, like a really cut down version. That's not the what's the standard Blu-ray version, which is the one that we watched and did for the show. But the TV version is different than that, and so there are all of these things that are like, that people feel like they're being Mandela affected or something, where there's like, I remember the scene being in the Superman movie and it's not there, and it's because it was only there in the TV version and it's not in any of the other versions. And if you weren't old enough to have seen it on TV, or it was re-aired a few times, including late enough that I think there are people recording it on VCRs and stuff, so people have copies of it maybe. But I don't think it's ever gotten like a real release. But most of the time, I mean, when you have something like the Lord of the Rings versions, like the theatrical version is not the real version. That's we have to get this at not like a normal movie length, but a more reasonable length.
People waiting on the Avengers. How am I going to be able to sit through a 3-hour movie?
Theater owners,
Lord of the Ring fans being like, it's been 12 hours, we're still going.
I'm so happy that it's that long. Yeah. Like, I'm so happy. Which, I mean, they've been going that way anyway. Infinity War is like 240 or something. It's already long, and then the last couple of ones have been like over 2 hours as a standard.
They got a lot of story to tell.
So they do have a lot of story to tell, and as long as it's like this,
or let me rephrase that: they have a lot of story they have to tell.
Well, especially
because I don't want to be looking at this
now.
And going, but
Part
how
3.
did this happen, Mr. Plot Hole?
So like a long movie, like sometimes a long movie is long, and then that's bad. But sometimes a long movie just happens to be long, and you don't notice as much.
Okay, so like this movie could have been long because by the time we got to the end of it, I was like, wow, it's already the end. Like this has been going so fast.
I guess like it moves kind of fast, but it also like I never was sure where we were in the structure of the story.
See, I'll
because
agree with that.
it's really kind of like slapdash and like things sort of happen after other things, but it's not really like there's no real act structure to. I mean, there kind of is by the end of it, but it's not in such a way where it's like it feels like we're in the middle where the bad guys win for a while part, and and so when it felt like it ended, I was like, I don't know how long this has been on. It is actually like right at 2 hours, so it's a normal movie length movie, but I had no idea how long it had been going on when it actually ended because it was really difficult to tell, just because of the way the story is. Because there are all these elements where it feels like, oh, we're gonna go over here and do a thing, and then that turns out to not be like a real thing because there's another thing happening. Because like I was disappointed for a little bit because I thought we were gonna get like a giant hunt, and then we don't because they betray him, and it seems like that's the purpose of that whole part of the movie. And then we do actually get a fight with the giants after that once he wakes up, and, and it's a good piece of action.
See, in the trailer, like we get to see him kind of swing a sword at the giant or at a giant. So we know
I didn't remember anything though.
So we knew it was going to happen.
So I had no idea what
but
was
like
going
it's
on.
weird. It's weird because like they go through this whole kind of setup, and as they go about it, it's like, okay, I got to send you to the Osiris Club because they're having a giant problem. And I'm just thinking, oh, okay, well, like that's what he does. He goes and fights monsters, and then he shows up, and they're like, ha, it's a hunt that we used to do. It's like a tradition thing. And he's like, that's kind of cool. I don't got to wear that dumb hat, do I? And he's like, yeah, no, you don't got to worry about that. You the horns, yeah, we got you.
Headdress.
Like, oh, what's this? There's spears that have battery packs, so we can like tase things, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, really like Tesla looking.
Yeah. And
battery packs.
Hey, you want one? He's like, no, I carry a piece. So I'm good. All right, we need you to ride a horse. Okay. And then it's just like, oh, yeah, well, like, hunting 1 is fine. Maybe even 2, but 3. Wow, like, we can't handle 3. And I'm like, okay, well, we're at a point where they kind of tell us that this is a little bit more than what they normally can handle, so they just need some reinforcement.
Well, and I was okay with the whole thing because I kind of wanted to just see Hellboy do his job.
Yeah.
Because like that's the kind of thing that he does. He fights like bad supernatural creatures, and it's just like he's supernatural Batman, and it's not. Nor it doesn't like every Hellboy story is not this giant world-ending thing all the time necessarily, and so I guess because it's a movie, it eventually has to go that way. We can't just have a series of just normal everyday fight this and that sequences, although maybe you could because it's not like people didn't like this, so maybe people might have liked that, or maybe they also wouldn't have liked that. I don't know, but it is a little bit disappointing, and it's always been the argument of why TV is generally a better place for something like Star Trek. Because when you do it in movie form, you have to have a bad guy and some like large crisis event, and like the world has to come to an end. and so you miss a lot of the elements that you normally would have, and that you think of as being supposed to be there. And that's true for all kinds of other movies too, where if you had a Hellboy TV show where he was just doing various jobs, you wouldn't have to have the world end every week, and you couldn't afford to anyway, and people would get tired of it. But because it's a movie, it has to be a big giant spectacle, and we have to have this kind of structure, or at least people think it may not have to be necessarily, because there are every now and then movies that are really low stakes while having large characters. It is disappointing that he almost never gets to use the Hellboy gun, though. Like, he pulls it out all the time and then just gets knocked from his hand right away, like almost every time. And it's like,
stabbed.
Why does he use the gun? Like, he always like, he pulls it out and he gets stabbed in the arm, and he pulls it out and he gets knocked away, and it's just like, just shoot the gun. Like, hold on to the gun better. And we even get he gets the other gun in the case, which I did wonder, what if he needs to shoot more than like 8 things?
Yeah,
because he only gave him 8 bullets. Which, are they the same bullets as his other gun uses? In which case, what's special about this one, and
where
why
is
does
he
he need
carrying
it?
the ammo for those?
I don't know. Well, he does have a belt, and we see it sometimes when he's fighting. You can kind of see like the coat swings around, and you can see he has kind of a gunfighter belt, and that there are bullets of some kind in it. But I don't know which gun they're for. And does he keep the other gun? Like, does he have like one on one side and one? Because he's cross drawing the new gun, it seems like, and I don't know if he put the other one over here, because we don't see him get rid of it or put it in the case, and I don't think he would just like throw it aside, because he might need something like that. But he never pulls out both of them, which also would have been neat, maybe.
As his big strong right hand wouldn't be able to hold it.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
not,
look at that finger. It's like having a concrete block for a finger.
Which that was like a run that other people in the theater seemed to think was funny, but just never worked for me, that he keeps breaking phones. Because it's like, it makes no sense, because it always happens when he hangs up the phone, but he had to answer the phone first.
Yeah.
And he was able to not break it then.
Well, it's fine when he breaks it, when he like tapped on it with the
first
stone
time, because it's the stone hand.
Because he wasn't paying any attention, and he hits it, and he's just like, damn it.
But then the second time, it's his regular hand.
Yeah.
Which I guess he still has strong hands, but he is able to use objects, and like he can hold a bottle of tequila and not just break it. So I think he can control his hands.
And he was even sober too.
Yeah. So, which he has this vest thing that he wears in that first scene, which I guess is because he's trying to hide, because he's got a hood up on the coat too, until he gets called out, and then he just gives up and takes the hood off, and then takes the coat off, and. But he never wears the vest ever again.
What happened to the vampires?
I don't know. I guess they're not a priority right now, or
like, we sent you to go like track down these vampires, dude, and now you're one of them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a big. I mean, I guess a few vampires are not important when there's like ancient sorceress gonna end the world things happening.
Now, that's something that I do have a slight issue with when it comes to this movie, is the distinction between, like, here are demons, and then here are just, like, monsters. Because, like, when things happen, and, like, the surface of the world is cracked open, and demons are crawling out,
yeah,
they're not the same demons, or entities, beings, whatever you want to call them, that are already just kind of lumbering about. Like, whenever the Blood Queen's there, I think of the Blood Queen more as just like, I'm a mystic force. I'm just like a human that got really, really magically powerful. I do things, but I'm not really a demon. I'm not associated with hell. While Hellboy is literally a half demon who's from hell.
Yeah.
So you'd have like these two different worlds of these creatures, and I don't see how she's going to benefit from him like burning everything on the surface, because everything's going to get burned because it's coming from hell. Like, your little frog creature dude who's over here with his sharp teeth, he's going to burn too.
Yeah.
Because he's on the surface, and maybe he has a soul, and it's going to get eaten by all of these demons. because they come straight from hell. You get to see them come out of the cracks.
It is the standard villain is going to take over the world by basically destroying it problem, which is used to be, at least, and sometimes still is, a really like standard boilerplate just like hack version of a villain takes over the world plan, because it's like, well, if you destroy the world, now what? Like, you can't, there's nothing to take over now. There's nobody to be in charge of.
Well, like the Blood Queen, they keep, now this is, when it comes to her motives, they always use words. And it's always like, she's going to spread a plague.
Uh-huh.
And there's going to be these creatures, and she's going to get rid of humanity. She's going to kill them all off. It's never really done as, we're going to destroy the world. It's just, we're going to destroy humanity. But what we get to see is always like the Hellboy aspect of Armageddon, and that's when everything's like lava and fire, and then just human souls are being reaped. And so they say one thing, but they show us another thing, and I just kind of want them to get it straight. Like, how are they actually, are they supposed to be separate? Are they supposed to be the same thing? Like, she's supposed to be able to see this stuff, because that's why she's so infatuated with him. And so it's just like
yeah, because she
like,
thinks
what is
she
this?
needs him for some reason.
And like, what is this? Like, what's supposed to be going on? Because it almost feels like they're trying to say it's the same thing, but they tell us something different. And then her actions and what we see her do, she seems to know that they're supposed to be the same thing, but then it's not going to benefit her. So it feels like there is this unbalance of what the story is supposed to be compared to what we're told the story is supposed to be.
Well, the whole like what I said before about it being like slapdash feeling, like it feels like a lot of different pieces of stuff that sometimes connect with each other, and sometimes just various events happen after each other.
Yeah. And
so I don't know what to blame that on, really. Do you think she really has angel bones in the shotgun? Like, I mean, where do you get those?
Like, what kind of angel bones?
I don't know. Like, you can't summon an angel like you can a demon.
I mean, like, Baba Yaga is like eating children hands.
Yeah, but I think those are just like regular children, not like angel children.
Wonder if she like summons children and is just like, "Meh, I'm gonna eat you now. Here's a meat hook."
I don't know. The Baba Yaga like story is such a weird thing. It's like this house on chicken legs and this like old witch, and it's a really weird idea to come up with.
Well, see, like there's something else in this story. I'm going to curse you, and everything you love is going to die. And then it's just like, are you telling me that he only loved his dad?
I mean,
because he's the only one that actually dies. I mean, like, maybe he cared about other people in the agency. We just don't see it because they're not important enough for us to see.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them died anyway.
But the dad's the only one that seems to have died that was important. So Baba Yaga's curse is kind of a load of malarkey.
Well, it probably is. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was that hard to like she can't get out of this like banishment dimension that he put her in. Which there are all of these hints at previous Hellboy adventures that we don't get to see. Where it's just like he's been doing work for a while now.
We need more exposition.
And well, no, I mean we get is a lot of exposition, but we're in this
sequel,
this one story, and so
she's still alive. She can always get revenge.
Yeah,
because we kind of get what happens to the changeling pig face man.
So did like the horseshoe like magic make him look like a pig face, or was that just what he was? Because like, what does a changeling look like when it's not changed into something?
Well, okay.
Because he seems to be really upset about being a pig face.
What I don't understand is when they do the little flashback thingy, and he's talking about how he saved the little girl, and they have the mom and the dad, They're like, we don't know, but we can just tell that's not her. And he's like, oh yeah, like fairies love to steal children and replace them with changelings. I'm like, okay. Easy to understand. Here's this infant. We know it's not the infant that it's supposed to be. It is a changeling. Okay. Changelings are supposed to change shape. Okay. He makes comment that they don't like iron. Not really sure why they don't like iron, but hey, that's fine. He's got this horseshoe. It's made of iron. I just don't know how it turns him into a pig.
I don't know.
Why
That's
that specifically?
Because he's not happy about it.
Like, of all the things that he could have turned into, like...
He didn't turn into a horse because it was a horseshoe. So...
Yeah, it's just like... I need a better explanation. Like, the scene was still really cool.
Yeah, I like the scene.
Like
I just don't understand why he's a pig face.
Yeah, he's this tiny little pig
tiny
thing,
pig face.
And he's like chasing around, and he grabs him with the little tongs for the fireplace. So he decides to climb up, and I'm gonna admit, I thought it was really funny when the Hellboy's like got his face inside of the fireplace, just screaming up the chimney, just like, you bring it back, or I'm gonna kill you and all your little friends. And then like they're just sitting there, just on the couch. And he's reading the book, and then you hear the doorbell, and the kid's just right there, and he's just like, of course they're going to bring it back. I know what I'm doing.
Is it this one?
That's one of the things that it made me think of. Is like, this is like the Bourne series, only instead of the CIA, it's like angel people.
Like fairy people.
Well, no, angel bones.
Yeah. Alice Monaghan. Mongahan.
Hmm?
It's like Mona Gahan.
Well, it's probably Monahan. Then.
Alice. That's the seer lady, does the souls from the mouth thing. I'm just trying to get the names right. And then Major Ben. That one's easy. All right, so I know we couldn't have Abe for this, but I'm glad that we had Major Ben, because the nice little balance of I'm all business. You can see by the scars of my face that I'm all business. I'm very military, all business. And then you have Alice and Hellboy, and they're just like, yeah, okay. Almost every scene that includes all three of them, I did enjoy. And then like, oh, we're having to fight the ghost zombies of these witches that they buried alive because I read it in a book that was on the internet, that they would cut the tongues out, fill it with maggots or whatever, and then bury them alive. I don't know why you just couldn't kill the witches and then like bury them. You had to go very Egyptian emo tuck or whatever from the Mummy series and just bury them alive. And they come back and she just starts punching them, and like the ghost comes out of them, and I'm like, hey, that's really cool. Stay behind me.
So, were jaguars are a thing?
Yeah. I want to know if he ever got the were jaguar that got him.
I don't know. They don't tell us.
Because like he was with several people, and the jaguar thing got everybody but him. So why but him? And then now that he knows what he is, and there's obviously a serum that helps prevent his transformations, which I like seeing, you'd think he'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to turn into this were jaguar, and I'm going to like take this thing down because it's my job that I needed to finish.
He just seemed to just change back at the end of the pig face fight, though, without like any help.
I think it'd be more of like, I'm tired.
I guess, but like,
And then, like, the 6 months later scene, he did the same thing.
Yeah,
and
like, they just use it as, like, a Hulk thing where he just, like, makes him angry and he turns into a jaguar.
It wasn't about angry. He's talking about these kind of chemicals and stuff, and you can't just punch me in the face. That's not what's going to happen.
But then he does.
Punches him harder.
So.
And it does. Like, I appreciate things like that. I know it's not good storytelling, but when the movie or a story is supposed to have like this element of silly to it, I think things like this are appropriate because they fit that silliness, even if it is kind of cliche.
It kind of never makes up its mind, though. Like, sometimes it gets at least sort of really serious in a way for a moment. Like, Hellboy has his, I'm real concerned about how magical creatures are treated and storms out of the office, and mostly it's kind of goofy, which is okay, but it just still feels kind of messy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, are we doing a serious thing here? Are we not doing a serious thing? Not that you have to pick one necessarily, because like we've talked commonly about how you can have comedic moments in an otherwise like dead serious story.
Well, like they didn't feel like comedic moments as much as they were like, here is a scene that's supposed to be comedic. And I when I say scene, I know.
Well, they do they have like the phone breaking things, and
because like I know like saying scene might be a bit vague, but whenever Baba Yaga summons him, like we just got out of something really serious, and now he's angry inside of the elevator, and something weird's happening, so we kind of know, okay, well, something's about to happen. What? And it's like, oh, I'm summoned by Baba Yaga, and it's a house on chicken legs. And I'm like, how do I feel about this? And then he goes inside, and then there's like stuff there, and he's already like, oh, it's Baba Yaga. And it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's just like, you're eating children. I want an eye. I'll trade you, but I didn't say when. And then she just kind of like drops him, and then he's like back into like the room that he was in before he went to the elevator, and he just falls from the ceiling. It's like, oh, we're not using doors anymore? And so it's like, that's really silly.
Yeah.
Like we went from like super serious to like confusing to this is silly but with creepiness behind it, and then this is kind of silly and then more silly. And it's supposed to be serious. I don't understand.
I don't either, because I think it's just messy. Yeah. They made a messy movie.
I mean, I still enjoyed the scene. I thought it was humorous, but I can't tell what they were going for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Which I think is like most of it. It's like individual sequences are like sometimes too often enjoyable, but it mostly just never feels like a movie, like, which is like, I couldn't tell like how long has this been going on, where are we, what's this, where is this going, how what am I supposed to be concerned about exactly here,
where's arc 1, where's arc 2, where's arc 3, like what is this,
what's the plan? I'm not sure what the plan is.
Well,
suddenly it's like 3 minutes to midnight and we're on helicopters and she's like sucking blood out of the tree, which I was reminded a lot of the Sleepy Hollow tree.
Yeah.
With especially again the beginning and the King Arthur stuff especially.
Well, like when we see the blood go into the tree, I'm just thinking, oh, we're gonna come back to this tree because we're gonna need that. Because
she's the Blood Queen, so it kind of makes sense.
No, but
up on this hill above like a supermarket or something.
But back to what I was saying a second ago. Like I had the same thing was after the Osiris Club betrays Hellboy, and then like he's in the river, and then we can hear like the giants attacking him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like all of that's really serious. But then he finally crawls himself out of the river, and he sees the pile of bodies with the two giants like eating on it, and he's just like, "Huh, I guess you did need my help." And then he just kind of pauses for a second. And he's like, 1, 2. Where's the third one? And then it's just like inner comedy.
Yeah.
Like, pick something and stick with it for the whole thing. And then once you transition to the next scene, then you can change it.
Which the action is mostly action-y and exciting and stuff, but sometimes it is undercut by trying to make it comedic at the same time instead of just doing straight action. I think probably especially in the giant scene, it's like that, where they do play a lot with like, he keeps getting, which it makes it like it has this weird like extra shocking effect of the gore sometimes, where like, because there'll be something really silly and then he'll just like chop a head in half or something.
Yeah.
And so it's weird.
Well, I think what makes the giant fight look silly isn't that they were trying to do anything silly. It's just all of these, well, like when Hellboy gets knocked and he gets flung over there, like the camera like follows him the whole way. So it's just like I think it's the camera motions that we get following Hellboy through all of these scenes is what makes it look.
It makes
silly.
it feel like a cartoon, kind of, even though it doesn't look like it looks good, but it feels like a cartoon because of the way that it's staged.
Yeah, because like if the giant like hits him and flings him off, well, like we don't need to see him fling all the way over. Like we see the initial hit, we know he's got airborne, and then we can do a cut here.
And he hits.
And then, like, we can go back to, we can have the close-up of where he actually hits something.
Yeah.
We don't have to follow the whole thing, because following the whole thing is like watching Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Only like live action and then Giants and Hellboy. So it does kind of, it was pretty cool, I'll tell you that, because, you know, like that sword right in the middle of its head and the pus popping, and it's really nasty. That was fun. But yeah, like you said, it's like a live action cartoon,
but not all the time.
No,
so it's just, I'm not sure.
And then like the big demons, like that didn't look cartoony at all. Matter of fact,
suddenly it gets real serious.
Yeah, and it's like hyper realistic.
End of the world is coming, and people are getting like killed. And
now, granted, Hellboy didn't have to actually interact with any of them, so I guess
he's not there.
Yeah, I guess like how each interaction with the demon said people, I guess it doesn't affect it as much, because you're really only getting to kind of see what they're doing. So everybody's just ragdolled.
It is weird how that one is just like, I'm gonna step on a few and just like wear you on my legs.
Yeah,
it's like, but why though? Like, why? What good is that?
Now I know like the various areas of England. Because were the demons in London? Like, was there like, was that a specific,
they were?
Whatever.
I think it was London or close to London. It's like they're at the whatever St. Paul's Cathedral. So
who would have known that King Arthur's tomb was right here? Did anyone check the basement? Jesus, Excalibur was right here this whole time.
It's like one floor down. But I mean, it's like
it's barely even a floor.
That's where they find the like the Templar tombs are just like one floor under the floor in the museum in Indiana Jones. It's just like you needed the Grail Diary clues to find it, but it's just right there. Like if anyone ever dug up the floor, you'd find that here they are. It's not like they're 800 feet down or something, and it's all secret and hard to get to. It's just no one ever looked.
But I know like the cities can be loud. But you'd think the combined screaming of all of these people slowly seeing these demons killing everyone, that the one black dude would have heard it instead of just looking so absent-minded that he just looks up and there it is right in front of him.
Yeah, he just doesn't notice.
It's not like it's behind him and he's got ear pods or something in. Like, no.
It's like Transformers sneaking around.
It's just right there in front of him, and he's just like, oh, what's this? Look up. Oh, no. Like, seriously.
The Terminator Salvation robots. Like, they only make noise when you're looking at them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they sneak around.
Stealth technology at its finest. They can't see us if they're not looking.
So, like, her head's in hell now, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we don't have to worry anymore.
No.
I guess. I mean, I guess she could, like, come back from hell or something.
And see, now it being, like, practically 2020, we have meat grinding technology.
Well, I kind of wondered about that, because you can apparently cut her into pieces. So, like,
and
what
we're
if you
gonna make
like
hamburger out
make
of it.
real small pieces? So it's real hard to sew back together. Why are the witches like blind and sewed together? Like, why does that have to be? Or is that who they are? Are they witches? Is that what they're supposed to be?
Maybe
There's something magic. Pigface doesn't do it himself.
no.
I don't know. Magic just doesn't make any sense because it's magic. So it does always bother me about magic in stories where it's like you can have something that's just like permanent. Like you can just not do anything about it. And where it's just like, now she lives forever, or now it's a curse of darkness for all eternity. And it's like, but why? Like, why does it have to be like forever? I mean, I'm not talking about just this, but just like in general, like there's so often just like a permanence about magic that you don't have in other stories necessarily. And it always bothers me a little bit.
There was a comedic act that was talking about something like that, where it's like, there'll be darkness for 1,000 years. And it's not really 1,000 years. It just sounds really neat to say. It's only going to be like 642 years, but 1,000 just rolls right off the tongue. Like little stuff like that. No, I always kind of looked at it as in the like power scale leveling. It's like if you take like a video game aspect to it, it's like, oh, well, if you're at this level, you can put these kinds of enchantments, which are better than, this noob who's only level 2 and his enchantments are like plebeian. So it's like, yeah, you're a level 2 plebeian trying to save the world. Of course, there's no way you can beat this enchantment. It's like level 80. And I always think of it like that. It's like, you gotta be stronger than the source to beat the source.
I guess, but it seems like it's not treated like that all the time, where it's just like someone eventually could maybe get like powerful enough, but
it's like
never,
Excalibur.
like, treated like that.
Like for this movie, it's just like, no mortal weapon can
yeah.
defeat her. And like, well, who's making these unmortal weapons?
Yeah,
like someone made Excalibur.
Where did Excalibur, like, how did it become? I mean, I guess, is it supposed to be that like Merlin made it magic at one point? Or
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, you would think somebody turned around and be like, you know what? We're using King Arthur and the whole Knights Round Table bit. Why don't we give these guys weapons that work too? Nah, too much effort. Because then we have to explain it.
I mean, there has always been a lot of specialness placed on Excalibur. And it's sort of commonplace for it to be this sort of magical artifact in other stories that are not straight King Arthur stories, but I don't really know why or understand it.
A lot of those stories are kind of muddied and jumbled together, because like you got the sword and the stone bit,
yeah,
you got the lady of the
Which
lake bit,
here.
And then it's like, oh well, it's actually supposed to be this sword and not that sword, and they got them backwards, and it wasn't Arthur who pulled the sword out of the stone. It was actually the lady of the lake, and she's like, you're gonna be king. That's what the Monty Python Holy Grail bit, lady distributing swords out of a lake. Declaring, like, what kind of government system is that? This is like, classy. I'm gonna give it like a week 4.
Oh, that's...
Because I don't think
higher
it's
than I
bad. It just doesn't have... Let me rephrase that. It's not bad. It does have a lot of stuff that I really find enjoyable, but they could have done better. Because it's just a little bit better than a 3, in my opinion. Just a little bit better. Like, it makes me want to have like a sequel and have more, lobster.
That would be better.
Yeah. Well, like, I kind of feel like this is the same problem that Man of Issues had, where it's like, okay, well, it's not completely terrible. It doesn't make me want to rip my eyes out, but maybe when they make the next one, it'll help fix this problem.
Yeah, that kind of didn't happen.
It
so, I mean, they didn't fix. Well, they still didn't fix those problems, but like they didn't fix the attitude problem for like 4 movies. And so it's like, finally we get Aquaman, and we solve at least some of the just like feeling problems of it, but it still doesn't solve the problem that like Superman is moody and doesn't really want to be Superman, and Batman murders people straight up, and like all of Metropolis was destroyed and millions of people must have died. Like, it doesn't solve those problems. It doesn't repeat them, because now we're gonna fight out in the ocean, and like, sure, we threw all this garbage up on shore, but that didn't really kill anybody. So like, we're gonna fight out here, and we're gonna keep it from getting to shore so that nobody dies, except maybe us and a bunch of like bad Atlantean guys.
Aqua people.
Aqua people, yeah. And so there's but so like it's sometimes it doesn't get fixed. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess people must, or it must not have made enough money or something. Like the Golden Army happened, and then it took 11 years to get another Hellboy movie. So it must not have done that well either. But I don't remember offhand if it did. So I don't know. We might eventually get something, but it probably won't. Okay. Well, okay. 160 million cost 85 million. So it made some money. So why did we take so long to get another one?
Well, like this is more like a reboot.
Well, I know, but I mean, it still took a long time
to actually get around it
to get to making anything with the character at all.
I'm okay with that.
So,
because it's better than having to reboot Batman every 2 years.
Well, I mean, that it was just 10 years between Spider-Man reboots, though. Like we got the Amazing Spider-Man movies just so they could hold on to the rights, but that was 10 years between.
Pizza time.
Well, actually, it wasn't even 10 years between. It was 10 years between the first one and the first one, not between the last one and the new first one. So it wasn't even 10 years. This was 2008 to now, 19. So I'm gonna say 3, but it's like it's a weak 3 because like I do, like it didn't make me angry. And, like, I enjoyed parts of it, and, like, it has good action and stuff. And often action movies have, like, dumb stories anyway. And so you just have to kind of just enjoy the action. But it's really messy, and it's really... Like, I think there's more of this feeling that I had when it said 6 months later maybe indicates something that I didn't realize I felt while the rest of it was going on, where, like, I was really ready for it to... Like, I was fine with not having any more by that point before that. And I was like, oh no, it's going to keep going on.
Well, like when it said the 6 months later, I almost felt like it was supposed to be one of those, here's an additional scene. It's like, oh, we're going to play a little bit of credits and then here's a scene. Yeah, it's just like, oh no, we're just going to give it. That should have
been the mid-credits scene rather than the cemetery scene, just for the, like, because it has no story impact on the movie that it's in. It's only to set up later things. And so it has that kind of feeling of like, if you bother to watch it, here it is, and we'll tease a little bit of something. But it doesn't feel like it belongs in the main part of the movie at all, because it takes place after. It doesn't resolve. And so it doesn't, it's not really part of this movie. It's part of setting up the next movie, which usually happens in the credits. But I guess they already had a mid-credit scene and an end-credit scene, and so they couldn't. Although there have been things, I can't remember offhand what they are, but I know I've seen them where they do have more things than that take place in the credits, where they just really pack the credits full of things. Usually it's small moments, like they come to a moment and then there's credits, and then they come to a moment and then there's credits, and they do it several times.
Yeah.
Usually for comedic purposes, but
I prefer it that way.
When you just have full-on scenes, usually they stop.
All right, so we got the stars, but did you get to see the trailer for Brightburn?
I did, and I had no idea what it was until they said the name, and then I knew what it was called, and I still don't know what it is. Is that a thing that already exists, or did they make it up?
I think they've made it up.
Because they keep showing us this symbol all throughout it, where it seems like, are we supposed to recognize this if we know what this is? I don't know.
Well, because from my understanding,
and it's a Luc Besson thing, right? Or no, it's the other movie. Who is it? What does it say?
It's the guns.
Oh yeah, the gun. Yeah, it's James Gunn.
It's like all three of them. There's like 3 guns.
But it says from visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, and it's like, well, okay, is that? I guess that's okay to say that, but are you saying that now?
Okay, so I'm going to admit that if this does have anything before it, whether it be real comic books and actual books, if this is something completely original based. I don't know. I have no idea about Brightburn. I just seen the trailer. I'd seen it before, but I didn't remember it offhand by title. And a guy was like, "Hey, have you seen the trailer for it?" And I'm like, "I'm not really sure. It sounds familiar, but I don't know." And we went and saw Shazam. And I was told that the trailer was supposed to be on Shazam, but it wasn't.
No. Which makes sense because
expect a Shazam episode soon.
It's a scary trailer.
It's a scary trailer.
There may be a toned down version of it because it did have this trailer has been approved by the MPAA as appropriate for this to accompany this feature. So it's like, we know you're watching an R-rated movie. We can give you a little more than if you weren't. And so there may be a less frightening version of it, but this one is frightening.
It's very frightening.
This should not appear in front of Shazam, where there might be children. Although there was, when I saw Hellboy, I couldn't see it because it was several rows forward, but there was what sounded like a 4-year-old maybe in the theater. So that I didn't hear it after the movie started, but I heard them, and I'm saying it because I couldn't tell whether it was a boy or a girl because kids that young have high voices anyway, and I couldn't tell. But so that seemed inappropriate.
Yeah.
but it's not expected to be. So
and so like the buddy of mine, he was just like, yeah, the story's supposed to be like if Superman was just a bad guy instead. And I look at him and I'm like,
yeah, which it does a good job of like leading it towards, because it really does just rip off the Superman origin story, and like it felt like that. Like even like they're doing scenes, even like he goes to the barn and like Ma and Pa are in the house, and like, well, he must, I guess he's gonna have to know eventually, and he they want a kid, and then he wrecks into the backyard, and it's like I thought it felt very much like a Superman movie.
Oh yeah, but see, think like he made it sound like like Justice Lords or whatever. Where it's like Superman's already an adult and he's evil, and like this is like, no, it's a kid wearing like a bag mask. He's terrified,
really creepy.
Oh god, and he's just killing people. Like, oh yeah, you have a neck. Let me snap it really quickly in like with this terrible sound to it. Ugh. Let me just chew on this fork. I'm not even paying any attention. Dad looks terrified. He's not like us. Well, I mean, that's not going to be good for his development.
Yeah, the chewing the fork thing is not really a good sign, like right away.
No. It's not a good sign because of the face the dad makes. Because the kid's just staring off into space, chewing on a fork. Like, he's not paying any attention. It's probably like an ice cream stick or something. So I'm not going to blame him for chewing on the fork. But like when your dad just gives you like this terrified look because you're chewing on a fork and it comes out all wrecked, when he knows you're an alien, so let's not be an ass about this, you know. So we could handle the situation a bit more delicately. Like, he's an alien. What do you expect? He's going to turn into a sheep? I mean, he could. But that would be on the soft end of things.
Comes out in May. I do wonder what the end point of it is, though. Because the only thing we don't see an equivalent to is something like kryptonite. So, like, does he just kill people for a while and we're terrified and then it ends? Or does he get stopped eventually?
Oh, no.
And it is not based on anything. It's just written by Mark and Brian Gunn.
Okay.
So, which James Gunn is just credited as a producer on it. He didn't write it, and he's not directing it. So
you might die.
The lady in the diner sure did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all we have to say about Hellboy and other things besides. And yes, we will be doing Shazam soon. It was supposed to come before this, but it turned out Kenny's going to Italy for news purposes, and so we ended up not being able to do it right away. But we're gonna do it as soon as we can. So it's still coming. And we'll see you next time.
Later.